I'm back, and today I just wanted to make a frequently asked questions video. So this is sort of to address my absence in the comments section. I've been trying to pick out what the sort of most commonly asked questions are, and I'm going to try and bang through a whole bunch of them here today. So hopefully if you asked a question back months ago or something and you felt like I didn't get to it, I may be able to address it in this video now. So the first question that is by far the most asked on any of my videos, it doesn't matter what the subject is, people don't really care about that. All they care about is the bee belt. So here is my bee belt. Everyone's been asking, where'd you get it? How can I get one? Whatever. So these are made by Paul Kelly, who works at the University of Guelph, and I buy them directly from him. There also are a couple of retailers in Ontario. If you're in the province, then you may know of Dancing Bee Equipment outside of Port Hope. And I think Innisfil Creek Honey, they also carry them. The retailers also may be able to ship internationally. I'm not entirely sure, but you'll have to look it up with them. So a couple things to keep in mind about the belt. I actually have two of them. So they'll have the hive tool magnet. That's what everyone loves, and once you start with it, you can't live without. And then they have a little pouch to keep your queen cage and your marker for marking queen, pencil, little pair of scissors, Sharpie, whatever you want to keep in there. You sort of set it up the way you want to do it, and yeah, they're indispensable. They're not cheap, but they're made here in Ontario by someone you can trust, and yeah, once you've got one, you don't want to live without it. Right. So all the stuff with the bee belt, I'll put links in the description for the websites. I know of at least two retailers that carry them. So another thing on that similar note, a couple people have private messaged me and asked me about my overalls. And fair enough, one guy from New Zealand wanted to know what they were and where to get them, whatever. They don't have them over there, so that was fine. But I mean, they're just Carhartt overalls, and I think if you're living in the US or Canada and you don't know what a pair of Carhartts are, you're probably not working hard enough. I just wear these. So right now I have insulated ones that I wear in the colder months, but the ones I wear all summer long for beekeeping, they're not insulated. And I wear these because they're just tough, right? I'm always lifting heavy boxes right up against, my chest and stomach. And I've had, some thinner overalls or coveralls before that start to wear out that way, and honey soaks through them. They're kind of annoying. I can't do the full white bee suit. They're, just too hot with the elastic cuffs and everything. I much prefer to wear this and a t-shirt in the summertime, but that's totally just my preference. With regards to my coveralls, there was also this comment that came up, which I know is a line from Oh Brother Where Art Thou, so I think he's trying to make fun of me that I wear overalls that look like the ones they do in the movie. If you're trying to make fun of me, it didn't work, because I just see it as a comparison to George Clooney, so I'll take that as a compliment. Okay, and then, so obviously my most popular, most watched videos is about managing hives in single brood chambers. So many people were asking about winter preparations for them. I think I've gone over, all the feeding, taking off your honey, that side of it. So then, as far as wrapping them for the winter, I didn't really make a full-on video about that. So now, here are my quick thoughts on wrapping and the final prep for single brood chambers, or any style of hive you want. It doesn't really matter. This is what I do. Okay, I'm wrapping bees. I guess maybe one of the reasons that I didn't really make a full video about how I wrap up my bees for winter is because I'm really not that picky about it. You'll probably run into a lot more people that are pretty strongly opinionated on how things should be done, but a lot of times I don't think the way exactly we wrap our hives are really that important. The most important things are that varroa mite levels are down, that the bees' boxes that they're in are full of feed, and that the cluster size is strong, healthy, and big enough to survive the winter. So I wrapped these two. We'll have a look at these. I cracked these inner covers before, so they might be moving around a little bit, which they are. So this will give you an idea. So here, this cluster is front to back, a little flighty. They're front to back here and almost the full width. They're right out on this outside wall. And they're taking up about, I'm going to close them up. They're taking up about 7 or a little more than 7 frames in there. I'll get this off the tripod, I'll show you the other one. Okay. So these ones, when I first looked at them, they didn't seem that great, but you know, there's some bees right out to here, across. They're not on this outside wall. There are, I don't know, the cluster sort of comes into there from here, and they're not front to back. Okay, they go from the back, but they don't come all the way to the front here. There's sort of some empty space with no bees there's bees about here. So it's not a completely full box of bees. This cluster's, you know, towards the smaller size that I like to see in a single brood chamber, but the important thing is there's feed. See, you can see honey put into these frames, sugar syrup feed, right from wall to wall and right out to the front here. There's sugar syrup packed away in there, so that's a really good sign. Okay, the next thing I do, as you can see, I definitely winter all my bees with these inner covers. I basically run them year round, but if they don't have them all year, I put them on now. And they're just a wooden inner cover with a top entrance, notch cut out, and then one deep side that I put facing up. And typically what I do is this. These are just softwood shavings. I line that there, and that's the insulation that I put on the top of the bees for the winter. It seems to work fine. Shavings are easy to come by. I happen to have tons of them. Or you can use like planer shavings or something like that if you're doing your own woodworking. I don't think they're the greatest thing to use. What I sometimes use is rigid pieces of styrofoam like this, cut to that size. Oh, that one's a little tight. Okay, and that is actually what I'd prefer to be using more of. These are solid plywood inner covers that don't have any holes cut in here for feeding on most of them. There's no real moisture that moves straight up through the plywood, so some people think it's important to have a moisture absorbent material. I really don't put any emphasis at all on that. I think with the top entrance and the standard bottom entrance, the bees should be ventilating properly and moisture should be expelled from the hive. I think the last thing I would want in an insulation is to have it holding moisture right on top of the bees. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I think this is the way I'm moving towards, and should be wintering more hives with that. Again, more important than any of this is that your bees are healthy and strong going into the winter. If they are, then they're going to get through sort of regardless of the insulation. I don't think it's that important, but I put something there. It's better than nothing. Okay, for a little tighter shot here, I'm just going to talk about entrance reducers. Some people put like a wooden block in there with just a really small entrance on there. Again, I'm really not picky about it, but I don't like to reduce the entrance too much. And I've sort of settled on this compromise where I just cut strips of these, they're actually old malt bags, but you get like grain feed for animals in them. I cut a couple strips of those, and they're really easy. I don't like to hammer anything on the front of the hive, so I just stuff in something on either side, and then the bees still have maybe 3 inches in the middle. I don't like to reduce it right down too much. That's about as tight as I'll make them for the winter. So they have top entrance and the bottom entrance in the middle. What I notice sometimes with a really strict, tightly closed entrance reducer, you just get tons of dead bees in there backed up against the entrance reducer. And sometimes they can even hold moisture from draining out the front of the hives too. So I prefer to not restrict them too much. So I use these things. Again, I'm not really picky about it. Do whatever's easy for you. Okay, now that they've got some insulation, I know that clusters look good. They can ventilate top and bottom entrances. Then I put on these wraps. Just like that, and put a lid on. And these wraps also have a notch or a hole cut here so they can access their top entrance. So these wraps, I can't really recommend them around the world because, as far as I understand, they're just available here in Ontario. Man Lake used to make a product that was really similar. Now these are actually sort of custom made here in Ontario by the Wellington County Beekeepers Association in Guelph. So in Ontario, they're easy for us to get, but you might want to go with whatever you can get locally. The thing about these is there's not much real insulation value in them. They're made of plastic, and it's like corrugated, just like a cardboard box, but it's plastic. So we just put them on. They act as like a real good windbreak in case there's any gaps between your inner cover and your box. And then the black, those warm sunny days, they'll at least attract some heat in. But yeah, there's not a ton of insulation value in them, but I think they work just fine. Strong colonies. They don't seem to be stressed out in these at all. They store flat all summer long. I'm like severely limited for space, so they're great for me that way. They're just really easy to use, easy to work with, and in my experience, I've been using them myself or working with beekeepers that have used these for the last 7 or 8 more years, and I think they do a fine job at keeping your bees protected from the elements for the winter time. Okay, yeah, obviously there's tons of options for winter wraps out there. I think, some of them are obviously a little more insulated than others, but in the end they'll all provide your bees with a little bit of benefit. And if you've got strong, healthy hives going into the winters, in southern Ontario, the northeastern United States, you'll do just fine this way. As you move, as you're out west in the prairies, with a lot of outdoor wintering, they're using much more insulated wraps, but I don't find we really need those here. But it comes down to personal preference, really what you like to use, what you've gotten comfortable with. And I'm using these. Okay, that was a quick rundown, I think, of some of the most commonly commented questions and concerns with my videos. So keep in mind, I do have a bunch of winter videos planned. I know I haven't been making stuff lately, but I don't plan on just going silent for months at a time here. I've got some plans over the winter that I'll keep making some videos when I have some time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.